Hello, everybody, and thank you for your support of Indie Agency News. Let's meet an indie agency. We're going sort of coast to coast with Adam Wilson and Tony Hawk, co-founders of Decal. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. I want to kick off with a little bit of background on the agency. Either of you, this is a little bit of a jump ball. And then Tony, I need to tell you a quick story about my son's name and something about his name, which I think you'll find moderately amusing. But let's start with founding of the agency, when it started, and how it got started.
Sure, I'll get it going because Tony has a cool little story, I think, about how I was able to get his attention.
Cool.
Yeah, we started in late 2018.
Okay.
And yeah, just in time, for a pandemic a year later or so.
Right.
Right. Which is a whole nother story. We don't count that year, but we made it.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't really get rolling until probably January of 19. So yeah, that's when we started. Obviously, my connection to Tony, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother segment, or it's actually better. It's better told over a beer, but
yeah,
skateboarding strikes again, right? Like it's a beautiful thing that the community of skateboarding, even globally, is so tight knit that you're only a degree or two separated,
right,
from folks like Tony. So yeah, I wanted to start an agency. I always did, even though I've had a love-hate relationship with the business. But that drove a lot of the kind of agency I wanted to build with my partner Ryan, who couldn't make it. And of course, you can only handle two people at a time, it sounds like. So that led us to, this has got to be different. It seems like a new indie agency, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
Pops up every month, and a funny name, and they're veterans, and they say, we're different because we're smaller or whatever. Some have certainly transcended that thing, but we really wanted this thing to be different and be an agency of outsiders. And so, and Tony to me represented that person who understands culture. He obviously, I'm going to sit here and speak for him and read off his resume.
He's sitting right there, Adam.
Yeah. But he opened the door to bringing in agency outsiders that were really connected to subcultures. So getting him involved, I thought long and hard about it. And, that's where I'll let Tony take
Yeah. And Tony, you're sort of the OG, well-known person in the agency business, because you start seeing a lot of celebrities, athletes. You start seeing a lot of people in culture that are dipping into this. What was the appeal to you?
Well, it definitely wasn't trying to follow other celebrities. It was more the
totally.
idea.
Yeah.
I think it was more the idea that we could create something from the inside that wasn't a marketing agent's view of what we do or how to present it. And I think if nothing else, I based all of my marketing and campaigns on authenticity and keeping skating's integrity at the utmost priority. So, and just the culture, like our culture, street culture, it's not just skateboarding. It's a lot of different things, music and art and other sports as well. So I just felt like we have so much experience and success based on how we have done things that we could do it ourselves. And well, the way it came to be was, firstly, I rarely tell the story, but Adam invited our team while we were in Detroit one year to skate an empty pool that was his friend's pool. Am I got that right? Your friend's pool?
Yeah. His wife made him empty it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And if you drain it, we will come. So
that is true.
So it's very rare that you get permission to skate a backyard pool.
Right.
And so we came, and it was fun. In fact, actually ended up in one of our big videos, the footage from that. And then later on, we kept in touch because my wife's from Detroit, so we have family there.
Oh, okay.
And then Adam sent me a press release about he and I doing a company together, an agency together.
Okay.
That looked legit. In fact, when I first started reading it, it was concerning.
Yes.
And as I read further, I realized that this is a really good idea, and so I can't say that I was the catalyst for it. I think it was more Adam's brainchild, but I really liked the thought of being more in control and being able to be a resource for other companies that are trying to not break into our sports, but to at least tap into them.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a really, the word that we bandy about in this industry is the A word, authenticity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has various permutations, and oftentimes it is diluted. I don't want to say diluted, but some people are deluded in thinking that they can come into an authentic place. And what is interesting is that observing this, to your point, Tony, maintaining the integrity of the culture, that's where it starts, and everything stems out of that. So it's building up as opposed to a top-down mentality.
Can I want to jump in on this, because it's so Tony's got the blueprint for sort of being a steward of the culture of skate, which as he mentioned, there's more to it. There's many layers, right?
Sure.
And you can no one owns it. There's these unwritten rules that ebb and flow with any sort of subculture. So put another word on your bingo card for this talk, because I'm gonna use the word subculture quite a bit, because it's the blueprint. So if you know a subculture well, you kind of know all the other ones, because
that's a fair point.
Because they have similar dynamics. So hip hop culture, I'm a middle-aged white guy in the suburbs, but I know more about that subculture, not because of experience, but because I've experienced skate. Of course, there's some overlap there,
right.
But even when we work with companies like Wolverine or Gibson, another fancy term that marketers use is endemic, right? But subcultures, and so that's kind of Tony's just his natural ability to kind of look at a subculture and kind of protect it and make sure that whatever's being done there is authentic,
right?
Is something we've adopted and is really kind of at the heart of how we do things and how we how we've constructed things.
Yeah, and I think two other words that I throw in there that I talk about a lot are authority and credibility, right? So Tony and both of you have the authority and the credibility, and so there are no questions, as opposed to, well, we're really not sure. It's just locked in, it seems like, with both of you, which I think is a huge benefit. What would you say? We've touched on a few things. Obviously, what would you say the agency is best known for in the top 3 core strengths?
Oh, best known for. Look, we're in the 5 years we've been operating. I can't say we're not grabbing headlines like Mischief. Love their work. When Giant Spoon did the Westworld experience, everyone wanted that, right? Decal hasn't put anything out there where everyone's like, well, we want that. Like we want what they do, right? And I'm not discounting the work of Mischief and all of that. I mean, they're great at making a brand pop in the moment, or how Liquid Death is, demonstrates that the brand is the brand is brand is product and product is brand by owning the internet every 2 weeks. Like that's so what we're doing, and I think we're beginning to build a name for ourselves, is in our ability to kind of unlock renewed relevance for established brands. It doesn't mean we don't work with late stage startups and stuff like that.
Right. Yep.
Where there's a longer term remit that cannot be solved with one amazing award-winning activation or TV spot. So you know, we've done that with Gibson, we've done that with Wolverine, my time at Carhartt, like
right.
even Gucci, like, you know, these are brands that have been around for a long time. And this is where, you know, again, it comes back to really understanding, trying to get past demographics. I mean, like, I know this is a bit dated at this time, but like a formidable moment for me was Chris Anderson's book in 2006, The Long Tail.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that was mind blowing. It's like, oh my gosh.
It's still relevant. There's a lot of relevance to it.
Well, and that's just it, right? It's like when you're at a dinner party, you don't sit there and talk to someone about you know, through the lens of traditional demographics, you know, how much money you make, where you live, what your gender you are. It's about what people are interested in.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, that's what subcultures are. And Tony's, you know, every venture he's been a part of, even outside of skate.
Yep.
I'm like bragging for you. It's like, it's because it's a brand or it's a business built around real human interest that transcend demographics.
And that's the very human side of it. Very human side of it. Tony, I'm going to ask you this question next, but I do want to tell you this quick story. So our son, 15 years old, his real name is Oliver, but he goes by Ollie. And when he was a baby, he was a baby. I had one of my former high school lacrosse kids that I coached. I think you know where I'm going with this. He said, "Did you name your son after the skateboarding trick?" And I said, I paused for
and
a
the
second.
correct answer is yes.
Yeah, I know. I did pause and I did say, "Oh yeah, of course I did." Yeah. And I will say that the kids, our daughter likes a little longboarding. She likes a little cruise. Our son was dabbling with it. Ollie couldn't do an Ollie. So I'll leave it at that. We'll get him back.
Okay, then you don't have to use that answer.
So
I have a friend
who
named his son Indy because he skates.
Okay. I like that. I like that a lot.
And he actually is really good at skating and can do indie air. So it tracks.
I love it. Okay. Awesome. What would be a skateboarding trick that you would never name your kid? 720?
Steelfish.
Wow. There are some bad ones.
There's some really bad ones.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you want those types of answers, but there was a trick in the 80s. I forgot what it actually was. Really obscure. It's called a jealous husband.
Get out.
What would that be the closest thing to? Like,
it's some kind of hand plan. I can't remember what it was. I want to say it's close to a woolly mammoth or a good buddy, but you know, any of those names would be amazing.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. All right. So here's the real question. Why is being independent important for you and for this agency? And Tony, I want to start with you on that.
The buck stops here.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to answer to some bigger conglomeration or to a committee, and we can base our opinions and our creativity on intuition as opposed to what we think a democratic vote would be.
Right.
I think that's the bottom line, and take chances. I mean, that's really the most liberating part of what we do is that we can take the chance and it's not like we're going so far outside the box that it's just going to fall flat, but
right.
We can get a little more edgy.
Yep. I like that. Adam, I'm going to move over to you on this question. What's the main reason a brand should work with Decal?
Oh, geez. I'm going to say inventiveness. You know, we're not, and I honestly, I think that comes from so many of us coming from skate background, because it's sort of built in, right? Just to always be iterating. And then, you know, and also there's a toughness part of it too, that's sort of intertwined in there, where it's like, you know, we're trying to be artistic physically, right? You're trying to iterate, but then when you take a slam, you got to get right back up, and which is, you know, kind of like an analog to the ad industry, or being a creative in this business. I would say that, a more, something potential clients could wrap their arms around is we're just, we know in-house brand teams are on the rise. I don't know, last number I saw is like, 70% of, at least Fortune 1000 companies
Right.
are building in-house brand teams. I know this well because when I was at Carhartt on the client side, I had an in-house brand team. I also had an agency. I had a hybrid thing happening, but we are really, really good at assimilating and filling the gaps and sort of morphing and working with brand teams. The brand team at Gibson, my God, they are so talented and fairly deep. And it took a minute for them for us to earn their trust and all of that. But they would be the first to tell you they wouldn't have been able to do some of the work we've done with them without us. We're kind of a force multiplier for in-house brand teams.
Yeah, it's the outside perspective is so unbelievably important. So unbelievably important. Tony, I'll start with you on this one. Why should talent be putting decal on their list? What do you think talent will get out of coming to decal?
Efficiency. I mean, we work very quickly and easily, and we're core. We walk the walk. I think that's probably the most important thing. I know it's baked in authenticity, but it truly is. Like we get the culture. We understand how to speak to them, how to keep things. There's just no way that you would see what we do and think that it's forced.
Right.
Or that we're trying to capitalize on a culture because we live in it and we care for it.
Yeah. What's that deck behind you, by the way, Tony?
This one?
Yeah.
There's a kind of complicated TikTok story behind this deck, but this kid chased down his FedEx driver.
Oh yeah, that's a good story.
East Coast. And said, "Hey, do you know Tony Hawk?" And he said, "Well, I know who he is." He said, "Will you get this skateboard to him?" And then he put it out on TikTok, and here it is.
Oh my God!
I did send him a skateboard in return. Don't think I just stole this.
No. I figured. Yeah,
but it was from Cooper.
All right, Cooper. I love it. Oh my
hey,
God,
Cooper!
So great, so great. We close with this.
Can I add? Can I add?
Go ahead. Yeah, add to that. Yep, go for it.
Oh yeah. So one other thing I think is really cool, and this would fit into an answer for your, your other question earlier, but because we are so sort of networked, right? Because we have this advisory board of folks that probably wouldn't have returned my phone calls. Like Tony introduced us to this amazing talent in Atiba Jefferson. Paul Blair, who won a Grammy for producing with Lady Gaga. He's a DJ. Like, these are people that have never spent a day at an agency. Jessica Murnane, a wonderful women's health advocate and author. Not only do we get to work with them, but they have introduced us to their network of even more. So they're sort of the tip of the iceberg, and this is a huge differentiator. I can't think of another agency that has, I don't know, I think we're about 30-40% like pure agency outsiders, call them cultural provocateurs, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
But you get to work with those people. Like when we got a chance to relaunch Maestro, which is a famed guitar pedal brand that started it all. And we wanted to see what the sound would look like visually. Was there a way to visualize the sound, the tone that each of these pedals made? And so through this network, we found a hacker / sound artist who wrote us an algorithm that allowed us to plug a guitar in, and the pedals created all the graphic art for the campaign. Like, people can work here, and instead of going, like, I've worked at big agencies where, I would have had to take that to a producer,
right,
who would have said, well, we're going to go to work with the Mill. By the way, they're amazing. The Mill's amazing. Yeah. But we're going to fake it because he's incentivized to use those partners, and right. But we get a whole network, and again, Tony's sort of the tip of that spear.
Yep. I love it.
But that network of people have also experienced the worst of big marketing demands and campaigns.
Yeah.
So I think that's the sort of silver lining to the people that we have that we can reach out to, because they know and have been sort of scared,
Right.
not scared straight, but definitely are hesitant
reference.
to do those kinds of things. And then when they work with us, they're like, oh, we have the freedom and you actually listen to us. And these things are actually put into motion as opposed to getting designed by committee.
Yeah. Which we affectionately here at Indie Agency News call a camel, which is a horse by committee. So final question, bit of a thought exercise, whether they are a current client or not. Who's a CMO or marketer you want to say hi to? You want to like kind of get on their radar a little bit.
Geez. Woefully unprepared for this question.
That's okay. I was in radio for 15 years. I can stretch a little bit.
Let me pull up my CRM and see who hasn't opened our email. I would say, Little Birdie's told us that Norm, the new CMO at General Motors.
Oh yeah.
We're swinging for the fences now, baby.
Yeah.
Has come in and has said, we've got to innovate and we got to maybe get our costs under control. And as you can imagine, there's massive holding company agencies that dominate that roster.
Sure.
And he has said, we can even explore making a roster of smaller independent boutiques where we don't have to spend as much money and maybe we get just as big a thinking. So Norm, if you're hearing this, you've opened 3 of my emails.
Oh, CRM.
But I haven't gotten a response.
Okay.
So maybe, maybe it'll help if Tony emails them. I don't know.
No, this is such a Detroit way of doing it, right? So,
well, if it moves the needle, then I also choose Norm.
Okay. Yeah. Norm.
And I'm happy to send a couple of emails myself. And like I said, we love Detroit. We actually bought a house there a few years ago.
It's awesome.
So I understand the love for the Detroit automotive as well.
Yep. No, it's amazing.
I still have my 64 Stingray.
Oh, God, it's like we have topics for more shows from both of you. Gentlemen, this has been a treat. You'll be seeing my ugly mug in Detroit, and I do make it down to Southern California more than I care to admit. Being an Oregonian, we're not allowed to say that we love California, but here we are. But I want to thank you both very much. This is really exciting. This is just such a great foundation that you've built, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing where all this heads. And you brought up the talent piece of it. Talent, if you're watching this and you're not necessarily in the business, but you love doing things, reach out to Adam and Tony. Gentlemen, appreciate you taking the time. Best wishes for continued success, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you.